What's up, everybody? This is Coach Sharf. Welcome back to my Algebra 2 notes videos. And today we are talking about solving quadratics. This is actually going to be the first in a series of 4 videos. The first couple are going to be shorter. Second couple will be a little longer. So we're going to talk about all the methods that we use to solve quadratics. So let's go ahead and jump into our notes. I'll switch back to the first slide here. All right. So we're solving quadratics. So previously we had done factoring quadratics. If I just had a quadratic that was not set equal to anything, x squared minus 6x plus 8 is an example. I had to figure out what I can multiply to get that. It would be 2 binomials. So x plus or minus something times x plus or minus something. In the case of what I said, x squared minus 6x plus 8, you don't have to write this in green, but I'm going to write it down so y'all can visualize it. It would be x minus 2 times x minus 4. So solving takes that a step further. We actually set the quadratic equal to something, usually 0. So we got to figure out what values of x would make my equation true. So what could I plug in for x here that would cancel all this out to 0? What could I plug in for x here where when I multiply these two things together, I get 0? Like that. All right. So like I said, we have 4 videos. First one's on factoring. Again, we've done factoring, so that should be hopefully a little easier. Square root method, that should be a little shorter as well. Completing the square is going to be a little longer. Quadratic formula, which y'all did in Algebra 1, will be a little longer as well. And with graphing, we're not going to actually solve by graphing, but again, the thing to remember, because when we do start talking about graphing next week or so, we'll have to remember this. When I graph my parabola on the coordinate plane, so if you were to punch it into Desmos or an actual graphing calculator, wherever my parabola crosses the x-axis, those are my x-intercepts. But again, if we remember, our x-intercepts are the same as our zeros or roots. So if it crossed at -8, 0, then my solution, one of my zeros or roots would be x equals -8. All right. So again, we're going to jump into factoring first, same as before, but our quadratic is set equal to 0. We're now solving for x. And y'all can get this down if you didn't get it. Pause it if you need to. I'm moving on to the next slide. So we've got 4 examples. 3 of these we've seen in varying forms previously. Okay. I've used x squared, either plus 6x or minus 6x as an example a lot. X squared minus x minus 42. We actually did that in the factoring notes. So if you go back and look at the factoring video, that was one of our examples. 2x squared plus 9x plus 10. We could still even do this while using slide, multiply, factor, divide, which is also in our factoring video. Turn my camera a little bit. Just ever so slightly. And then number 2 is the only one we really haven't seen. But we got to factor first. It's set equal to 0, and then we can solve. So let's get started. Let's look at number 1. So number 1, I'm going to say it's plus plus. So I know both of my factors can be x plus something, x plus something. So what can I multiply to get 8? That adds up to give me 6. Hopefully at this point you could do that in your head. If you can't, that's fine. So we're going to say, what can we multiply to get 8? 1 times 8, 2 times 4. Which of those can I use to get 6? It would be 2 plus 4. So those are my factors. Now to actually get my zeros, the conventional method, which I'll probably learn, is to set each of these equal to 0. X plus 2 equals 0. X plus 4 equals 0. I got to get x by itself for both of these. So here I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. I'm going to get x equals -2. Over here, I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I forgot to do it over there. And get x equals -4. It's supposed to be negative. That did not turn out. -4. There we go. So those are my 2 solutions. Okay. If you want to check the math, if Coach Sharp can make a half decent circle around this thing, you would plug in -2 into here. I'm going to do a little bit of mental math. -2 squared is 4. 6 times -2 is -12 plus 8. That all cancels out to be 0. And then if I plug in -4, -4 squared is +16. 6 times -4 is -24 plus 8. Again, all that would cancel out to be 0. So that's one way to do it. Okay. Let's look at number 2. X squared minus 8x plus 15 equals 0. I'm going to draw my 2 sets of parentheses, put x and x. Again, if you want to follow the minus plus rule, you can do that. You know, what I more look at is just focusing on C, the 15. Since 15 is positive, I know both of my signs have to be the same. So I'm either going to have a positive times a positive or a negative times a negative to get me a positive. Over here, we had a plus plus. That gives me +8, but also got me +6. So to get a -8, these are both going to have to be negative. So it's going to be minus minus. What can I multiply to get 15? That adds up to give me 8. 1 times 15, 3 times 5. So I know I'm going to do 3 and 5. This is still set equal to 0. So I could do what I did over here. Set x minus 3 equal to 0, x minus 5 equal to 0, and solve. But coming back to this first example, so we plug -2, -4 in up there, right? When I factor this, x plus 2 times x plus 4 is the same thing as this. It's just factored. So if whatever I get if I were to plug in 5 up here, let's just do it for the heck, okay? If I plugged in 5 up there, it'd be 25 plus 30 plus 8, which is 63. I plugged in 5 down here. 5 plus 2 is 7. 5 plus 4 is 9. 7 times 9 is 63. So I got the same thing. Okay. So going back what we previously did, let's start with -2. If I plug in -2 here, -2 and +2 are going to cancel out to give me 0. Doesn't matter what's over here. Okay, -2, +4 is going to give me +2. 0 times 2 is 0. But I'm multiplying by 0. That's really the key thing. I could have an unlimited number of other sets of parentheses. Okay, I could have 5 times 12 times 0 times 2. If one of the things I'm multiplying by is 0, doesn't matter how many numbers I'm multiplying, how big they are, how small they are, if they're positive or negative. If one number in my sequence that I'm multiplying is 0, the whole product is going to be 0. That's what we call the zero product property. Don't have to memorize it. Don't have to be able to explain it. But that idea, not that it's a shortcut because we're still really doing the same thing down here, but instead of writing this, now all I have to do is say, what's going to cancel out this set of parentheses and make it equal 0? So what's going to cancel out -3 would be +3. It's going to cancel out -5 would be +5. So my zeros, my solutions, my roots are going to be x equals 3 and x equals 5. All right, number 3. So x squared minus x minus 42. Again, we did this in a previous video. Got x and x. 42 is negative, so I know both my signs have to be opposite. One positive, one negative. I got -x. So what do I multiply to get 42 to get? What's my number? If we don't have that number, we assume it is 1. So multiplies to get 42 that would obviously have to subtract to get me 1. It's not 0 because if it were 0, this term wouldn't be there. Okay, so it's not 0. So what can I multiply to get 42 that subtracts to give me 1? Again, if you want to do your factor pairs out here, 1 and 42, 2 and 21, 3 and 14, 6 and 7. So it's going to be 6 and 7. So what's going to give me -1? 7 minus 6 or 6 minus 7 would be 6 minus 7. That's what gives me -1. So now if we're getting our solutions, our zeros, okay? So the other thing y'all might notice now, you have x minus 3, x minus 5. So my solutions were +3 and +5. So some of y'all might just say, oh, I just flipped the sign, okay? I don't like saying flip the sign because some of y'all, when it's negative, all you think flip the sign means is make it negative. And these are already negative. So it's not that. But even more so when I have two different signs here, you start to say flip the sign. And again, it's, I don't know what it is. You think something needs to say negative. I don't know, but you kind of short circuit. So your brain kind of short circuits. That's a lot of people. And again, that's fine. So that's why I don't want you to say flip the sign. That's why I want you to ask the question, what's going to cancel out +6 to make this equal 0? What's going to cancel out +6 would be -6. What cancels out -7 over here? +7. So those would be my two solutions for the third problem. All right, fourth problem. 2x squared plus 9x plus 10 equals 0. So I'm going to do this one. I'm going to do the fifth one, which is going to be the other slide, multiply, factor, divide that we did last week. So this is going to be slide, multiply, factor, divide because I have the 2 out in front, okay? When I do slide, multiply, factor, divide here, when I slide this 2 down, it's going to come down here next to the 10. Let me move my big head for a second. It's going to come down here next to the 10. This is still equal to 0. I know I kind of wrote over, but I'm moving the 2 down here next to the 10. Not on the other side of the equal sign next to 0. All right. So I got to slide the 2 down. Forgot to write slide, multiply 10 times 2. And cross out the 2 as well before I forget. X squared by itself now 9x, and then 10 times 2 is 20. Again, I'm about to move my head back up, so if you still weren't quite done here, you can pause to get that. Again, this says slide, this says multiply. And it's still going to be equal 0 over here. Okay. So now I can factor this. Now I can factor this. This is plus plus. So my signs, my factors are going to be plus plus. What can I multiply to get 20 that adds up to give me 9? Again, do your factor pairs if you need to. If you know off the top of your head, that's fine. That's going to be 4 and 5. So this is the factor step. I kind of forgot to write factor, so I'll write it up here in green, factor. All right, so now what I got to do is, let me move my head again for a second. Start down here. This is kind of an empty space. This 2 that I slid previously, again, that's going to come down here to divide both of my constants by 2. So I got to divide both of my constants by 2. When it divides cleanly, we're still just going to divide it clean. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. Here, x plus 5/2. So when it doesn't divide cleanly, we got to see if we can reduce our fraction any further. And then if we didn't, what we said previously was we're going to move the 2 back out in front. All right, I can do that. That's not how I'm going to recommend doing it. I'm going to show y'all something different, but if it's going to be confusing for y'all to remember, you need to ask me, say, hey, Coach Sharf, I'm doing solving by factoring with slide, multiply, factor, divide. I got to the divide step and I still wanted to slide my 2 back out in front instead of leaving it in my fraction, which I'll show you all in a second. I still want to slide my 2 back out in front. So how am I going to get the right answer? So send me a message like that and we'll talk about it. So when I'm solving, again, when I'm solving, it's set equal to 0. I'm not just factoring. If I was just factoring, I would move the 2 out in front and be done. But for solving, I'm not going to move the 2 back out in front. I'm going to leave it as x plus 5/2. If you'd had a bigger fraction and simplified at this point, I'm still going to leave it like that. I'm going to do one more problem to illustrate that. Okay. So x plus 2 times x plus 5/2 equals 0. Now, since this is just x by itself, this is just x by itself. That's the key. If this were 2x, I can't say what cancels out 5 because I had 2x, not x. So since I just have x by itself, now I could say what cancels out positive 5/2, negative 5/2. What cancels out positive 2 over here, negative 2. So my solutions would be negative 2 and negative 5/2. Okay, those are my solutions. All right, one more problem. Let's see here. I need to move that so I can flip over here, do one more problem because I ran out of room. All right, so I'm going to do the 6x squared plus 13x minus 5 that we had done on the factoring one. I think it was that. I might have my signs flipped. No, I think I didn't have my signs right. All right. So 6x squared plus 13x minus 5. So now it's set equal to 0. I'm still going to do slide, multiply, factor, divide. So I'm going to slide this down here. I'm going to kind of put it up a little bit now. Slide. Get my red X to multiply. I know I'm running out of room. Multiply. 5 times 6. I know I kind of wrote over. So I'm now going to still have x squared. I'm still going to have my plus 13x here. Negative 5 times 6 is negative 30. Equals 0. All right, I'm going to do my factors, x and x. 30 is negative, so one has to be positive, one has to be negative. So if y'all remember when we did this, there's going to be 2 things I can multiply to get 30 that give me 13. Okay. 1 times 30, that's not it. 2 times 15. I could do that, 15 minus 2. 3 times 10, I could also do that, 3 plus 10. And then 5 times 6. So I could do, to get 30, again, ignoring the signs, just to get 30, I could do 3 plus 10 or 15 minus 2. Again, where this is going to come into play is my signs. Since this is negative, these have opposite signs. If I try to use 3 and 10, 10 minus 3 is going to give me positive 7. 3 minus 10 is going to give me negative 7. Neither of those give me positive 13. So that's not going to work. So now we got to use 15 and 2. So what's going to give me positive 13? 15 and negative 2. Again, this is the factor step. Okay. So 15, x plus 15 times x minus 2 equals 0. Probably should have done that other than light blue because I'm about to slide my light blue down. That's on me. I'll tell you what. We know we're still sliding to 6 at this point, hopefully, so I'll make this purple. Okay, we're sliding to 6 down here. We gotta divide. Okay. So neither of these divide evenly, but they can both be reduced. Okay. 15 and 6. The greatest common factor for those is 3. Those can both divide by 3. So, you know, if you want to put divided by 3 out here, divided by 3 down there, you can do that. So it's going to give me x plus 5/2. Coincidentally, the same number we had in the last problem. Here, x minus 2/6. Hopefully, you know that reduces to 1/3. So again, I'm just going to keep it at this point now. I'm not sliding to 3 back. I'm not sliding to 2 back. Now I can ask myself, what cancels out negative 1/3, positive 1/3? What cancels out positive 5/2, negative 5/2? So those would be my solutions. There we go. All right, so that's the factoring, solving by factoring video. Again, got 3 more to do after this. If y'all got any questions, send me a message on Remind. Otherwise, I'll see y'all in the next video.